Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. In this video, I'm going to explain about topic 6, correlation and regression. These are the 4 contents in this chapter 6. Okay, in this video, we are going to focus on the first and second content only, concept of correlation and also scatter diagram. Okay, so as an introduction, before this you learn about variables. Okay, in your study or research, you might have more than one variable. Okay, let's say you have 2 variables. So a change of one variable might cause another variable to change due to the influence of the first variable on the second variable. Okay, for example, now you are conducting a study about price of sugar, about relationship of price of sugar with the price of foods in a restaurant. Okay, and from that study, you can conclude that an increase in the price of sugar may cause the price of certain foods to increase. Here, we can conclude that an increase in one variable causes another variable to increase. So we can say that these 2 variables are positive linear relationship. Okay, because an increase in the price of sugar, an increase of one variable, will cause the second variable to increase. Okay, second example, an increase in the number of people get infected of COVID-19 will result in decreasing in manpower for certain company. So in here, an increase in one variable will cause another variable to decrease. So we can conclude that these 2 variables are in negative relationship. Okay, so what is correlation? Because this topic is about correlation. So what do you understand about correlation? Correlation describes the linear relationship between 2 variables. Actually, correlation is another word for relationship. So correlation will describe the linear relationship between 2 variables. Okay, and for correlation, you will conduct correlation analysis. Correlation analysis is a statistical method used to measure the strength of the relationship between the 2 variables. Right. To know the relationship between the 2 variables, you will construct a scatter diagram. So scatter diagram is a graph that shows a relationship between the 2 variables. So kalau you nak tahu apa relationship antara 2 variable, kita akan lukis scatter diagram. Okay, so in scatter diagram, the independent variable is labeled on the horizontal axis. So your independent variable is your x-axis. And for dependent variable, it is labeled on the vertical axis. So y-axis is for dependent variable. So x-axis for your independent variable, y-axis for dependent variable. Okay, after you draw the scatter diagram, if the scatter diagram forms a certain pattern, whether increasing or decreasing, this indicates that there is a relationship between the 2 variables. Okay, so kalau you look after dah lukis scatter diagram, lepas tu you nampak ada pattern increasing ataupun decreasing, maksudnya ada relationship between the 2 variables. But if your scatter diagram does not show any pattern, so you can assume that the 2 variables do not have a relationship. There are a few types of scatter diagram that you might encounter later. Okay, the first one, you get a straight line, the perfect straight line like this. Okay, if you get something like this, you can see that X and Y, the correlation is perfect positive. Okay. Second case, second type, if you get something like this, you get decreasing pattern, a very nice decreasing line. So for this, you can see that your X and Y, the relationship is perfect negative. Okay, the two variables are perfect negative correlation. Okay, next, if you get increasing form of a scatter diagram, something like this, not really straight line, perfect straight line, but the pattern is increasing pattern. So for this, you can conclude that the two variables X and Y are positive linear correlation. Okay, because the pattern here is increasing, but it is not increasing perfectly like this, but it still increase. Okay, nampak macam menaik kan dia punya pattern tu. So this one, it is positive linear correlation, positive linear relationship. Okay. Next type is when you have something like this, the pattern is like a decreasing pattern, but not perfect decreasing pattern like this, but it is still decreasing. Okay, so for this one, the two variables are negative linear correlation or negative linear relationship. The next one, if you get something like this in your scatter diagram, okay, the first part of the graph is decreasing. The second part of the graph is increasing. Okay, for this one, no specific linear relationship, so we can conclude that this is non-linear correlation or non-linear relationship. Okay, the last type of scatter diagram is when you get something like this. No specific pattern of your scatter diagram. Okay, so for this one, no correlation at all. So X and Y does not have a relationship. Okay, let's try the first example. Draw a scatter diagram for the following data and state the type of relationship between the variables. So this is X and this is the variable Y. So this X is the independent variable and the Y is the dependent variable. Okay, because the values of Y depend on the values of X. Okay, so how to construct the scatter diagram? So you first step, of course, you must draw the axis, vertical axis and also horizontal axis. This is X, this is Y. Okay, and then plot the graph. Okay. Okay, so this is your scatter diagram. Okay, so from this scatter diagram, the pattern of this diagram of this scatter is increasing pattern. So we can say that there is a positive linear relationship between the variables x and y. Okay, sebab pattern dia menaik kan. So, bila pattern menaik, maksudnya ada positive linear relationship. Okay, next example, example number 2. Plot the data below and determine whether a linear relationship exists between the variables p and q. If there is, state the relationship. Okay, so p is your independent variable, q is your dependent variable. P is the horizontal axis, okay. Q is the vertical axis. Okay, so P is your x-axis, Q is your y-axis. Okay, next step is to plot the graph. Okay, so this is your scatter diagram of, sorry, this is not x, this is supposed to be P, this is Q. Okay, because our variables now are P and Q. Okay, from this scatter diagram, there is no specific pattern. Okay, sebab dalam scatter diagram ni, dia bukan menurun and dia bukan juga menaik. So, tiada pattern. So, for this one, you can say that there is no relationship between the two variables. No correlation between variable P and Q. Okay, that's all for this video. Okay, for the next video, we will discuss about the linear correlation coefficient. Okay, so stay tuned for the next video.